Hello guys, welcome to Careerist. Welcome to lesson number 1. Today we're going to talk about QA, we're going to talk about quality assurance, we're going to talk about testing, software quality assurance, software QA. We're going to talk about the career and job market overview. We're going to talk about the industry, about the salaries, about what we actually do at work, how we can help you get those jobs very soon. And of course, we're going to answer all of your questions. So please bear with us, listen carefully. Most of the questions are going to be answered during the lesson. In case you're still going to have questions in the middle or in the end, we would love to answer your questions. And yes, of course, it's live. I can see your messages. Hi, Mile. Hi, Wayne. Hi, Gabriela. Hi, Eddie. Hi, Kevin. Hi, Brian and the rest. Good to see you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Just please focus on the lesson, and you will see that most of your questions gonna be answered. I think that somebody is not hearing me, so just in case, please, guys, just write in the chat that he should or she should refresh the browser, and I'm sure that it will work fine. Cool. Now, guys, where are you from? Please write in the chat. Where are you located? I'm in Miami, Florida right now. Originally from the Silicon Valley, but recently I'm in Miami. Nice. We have Texas, New York, Cleveland, all over the country. Puerto Rico. Wow. Nice. Welcome, guys. So let's start the lesson. And let me tell you a little bit more about myself. My name is Max Lubochansky. I'm the co-founder at Careerist, and I have more than 10 years of experience working as software QA engineer at different companies like Apple, Intel, and many other Silicon Valley companies. Feel free to see more about my experience, to see more about my background and experience on LinkedIn. Also, please meet Careerist. Hopefully your career partner. We are a leading career training platform pioneered by industry experts to maximize the students' hiring opportunities. And whenever we say industry experts, what we actually mean is that our teachers, our instructors are the best of the best. They are QA managers, QA leads, software QA engineer, software development engineers and tests that come here to share their knowledge and experience with you guys. They work in the best companies in the world, like Apple, Facebook, Intel, AT&T, Verizon, Bank of America, and many other companies. And their goal is to help you get those jobs in minimum time with maximum possible rate, without wasting your time, without wasting your effort, and of course, to make sure that you will avoid the mistakes that most of the people are having in this job search, in this industry, mistakes that many of us used to have in the beginning. We definitely want you to avoid those mistakes. We are supported by more than 300 career staff, which allows us to help and support you much more than anyone else ever before. And that's why we see amazing results. Our graduates are already working in much more than 1,000 companies in 40 states, and we are very proud of it. Whenever we say that our graduates are landing high-paying jobs in record time, what we mean is that the high-paying jobs are 65 to 100K per year for a full-time job, or if it's a contract job, it's going to be around $33 to $50 per hour after this program. That's the range of the salaries. Of course, you're going to have exceptions. Some will get 60K and some will get 115K or 110K. But you will see that the majority will see that $70,000, $80,000 and even more, even 90 and even 100. If you're asking about the average for our graduates, what we see is between $70,000 to $75,000. That's the average salary. Does it mean that you will get the average? No, you can get more than the average if you want. Just keep in mind that the average is between 70 to 75K, which is 35 to 8 per hour. Okay, that's regarding the average salary. Regarding the record time, what we actually mean is that the job search is usually between 2 to 6 months, while the average is around 3-4 months. When we say job search, we mean active job search when you are prepared, of course, for the interview by us, and you are actively applying for jobs every day. You're prepared well, you're in touch with your career coach, with your mentor. That's what we mean by active job search. And if you're going to follow those instructions, if you're going to follow this job search, you will get the job usually in 2 to 3 months. But we say 2 to 6 months because we definitely see certain slowdown on the market for the past 8 months. So it's slower than it was before. That's why before we always told you about 2 to 4 months, but now we actually talk about slightly more because we feel that it might become longer than usual, but the result will be the same. You will get the job. You just need to focus and follow the instructions. Most likely it will be in 2 to 3 months if you just gonna be focused. So that's about us. Now let me tell you a little bit more about QA. And by the way, guys, I do see your messages. I do see Matthew and Rajaviraj from California. I hope I pronounced it correctly. I just want to tell you that let's focus on the lesson. In case that you're going to have questions, I recommend to keep those to a little bit later. Of course, you can write the questions right now, but I recommend to hold because most of the questions are going to be answered. You will see it. And in case you're still going to have questions, yes, of course, write it in the chat, and we're going to address and answer those at the end of the lesson, and probably some of them in the middle, but most of the questions related to the program, the course, the industry, probably we're going to answer in the end. During the lesson, we're definitely going to answer the questions related to the lesson, but other questions we will answer at the end, I promise you. Today, we're going to have 2 parts. The first part going to be with me. I'm going to tell you about the industry, the salaries, what we do at work, how we can help you get the job. And the second part going to be with Brendan. And during that part, you will learn more about QA, terminology, theory, and a lot of really cool stuff. At the end, me, together with Brendan, we're going to answer your questions. So let's see. By the way, you will get a video recording, of course, of today's lesson. Like any other lesson that we're going to have, you will get a video recording to your email. If you will not find it tomorrow in your email, please double check your inbox. If you don't find it there, just check spam or promotions folders because sometimes it gets there. In case you will not find it for some reason, most likely you will see it, but just in case, you can always email advisors@careers.com, but I will share this email with you later again. So guys, what is QA? It's not questions and answers. It's not Q&A. It's QA. It stands for quality assurance. And the main idea, the main purpose of quality assurance is to make sure that everything works, looks, and feels good. The most important part, it works good. So I will give you an example. Let's imagine a website like careers.com or google.com, or a mobile application that you have on your phone. It could be food delivery app, it could be flashlight, it could be dating application, Uber, whatever. In both cases, the website and the web application, which is the website, and the mobile application, which is the mobile app, in both cases, someone designed those, then someone created those applications based on the design, and we as QA people, as testers, as quality assurance engineers or QA analysts or QA testers or another 25 plus names that we have for same kind of job in most cases, we come to double check that whatever was created is according to the requirements, is according to the specs, is according to the design, is according to what was intended to be there. In case that we see a mismatch between actual and expected behavior, we call it a problem or a bug, an issue. Usually we use the word bug. And whenever we find those bugs, which is a mismatch between actual and expected behavior, we report those bugs to the developers. So our job is not to fix problems. Our job is to report problems. And second, after we report the problem, so we identify, we find the problem and report it. That's the first thing. And the second is later, after it's going to be fixed by the developer, hopefully, we will get it back to double check that it's no longer reproducible and the issue was fixed and it didn't break anything else. So we do two things. We identify and report the issue, and we double check that it's no longer reproducible after it was fixed. It could be fixed the same day, the next week, the next year, depends on the priority, okay? That's our job. That's what we do. So if you were worried about the job, if you were worried about it being complicated or sophisticated, please don't, because the job is very straightforward. It's very simple. And I'm sure 100% that anyone here, and I mean it, anyone here definitely can do this job. The problem is not doing the job, and I want you to keep that in mind. The problem is getting the job, impressing the hiring manager, getting maximum possible rate in minimum possible time. That's what is important. The job itself, of course, we're going to teach you how to do the job, how to keep the job, how to get the job. But the problem is not doing the job, because it's a very simple job. How do I know that? Because we have already graduates working in more than 1,000 companies, and I don't really remember graduates telling me, hey, Max, I cannot do the job. It's complicated. I don't. Okay? So it's very straightforward. So software testing or QA prevents errors and defects that we also call issues or bugs in software by continuously testing the product and reporting issues. That's the definition. And now let's talk about if this training is for you. So first of all, you need to be looking for a new and better career. In this case, you're in the right place. Second, you need to speak English. People should understand you. You should understand others. You should not have any communication problems with your team, with your manager. It doesn't need to be perfect English. You can keep your accent. It's fine. Just make sure that people understand you, you understand others, and you will not have communication problems. Of course, we have a lot of graduates that they just, came to US recently and their English was not great or not perfect, but many of them, of course, were able to get the job. So the problem is not the perfect English, okay? As long as you will not have communication problems, you're good to go. You're ready to accept 65 to 100K salaries, because that's exactly what you're going to see very soon. Full-time, 65 to 100K. Contract, $33 to $50 per hour. 50% going to get contract, 50% going to get full-time. It's pretty much both. You will have both opportunities. Job search is 2-6 months. Please keep that in mind. You need to have basic computer skills. What it means? It means that you need to know how to use your mouse. It means that you need to know how to restart your laptop, to open your browser, to check the version of your browser, to go to YouTube, to go to Google. That's pretty much the computer skills that we mean. Okay? So if you know how to do that, great. If you don't, in 10 minutes, you will learn it using YouTube, if you know how to use YouTube. But if you don't, you will learn in 5 minutes. What you don't need any computer science degree. You don't need any coding skills. You don't need any technical background. If you have technical background, great. It means that you will get the job even faster. If you don't have technical background, great. It means that you will get the job in 2 to 4 months in most of the cases. You don't need any specialized equipment. As long as you have a laptop or a computer and a phone, you're good. You don't need to buy anything expensive. Whenever you're going to get the job, of course, the companies will send you the devices that you will need for work. For example, MacBook or iOS and Android devices. Okay? So don't worry about that. You will not need to buy any equipment. If you ever see someone offering you to buy equipment, you need to understand that it's a red flag and it's a scam. Avoid it. Stay away from them. Because in our industry, nobody gonna tell you to buy equipment or anything. Cool. Now let's talk about the salaries. Let's talk about the range of the salaries. According to Glassdoor, the annual salary for QA jobs ranges from 65 to 110K. Well, I don't know when this slide was created. That's why I want to see how it looks right now. Let me share the screen with you and let's see how it looks on Glassdoor as of now. So the update was a couple days ago. Let me update it, but I think it's still going to show the August 11. Yep. So the average salary for software QA engineer, and yes, you're going to become a software QA engineer after this program, is $106,000, while the most likely range is 85 to 134. But if you want to see the real picture, we're going to update the experience part to the one that you guys going to have, because after this program, all of you going to have the experience from the internship. So you will have less than 1 year of experience. It's going to be probably between 2 to 6 months of experience, because you can be part of the internship until you get the job during your active job search. And that's why your experience can grow with every month of your job search, and it could be 2 to 6 months of experience. The minimum time for the internship going to be 3+ weeks, but you can definitely be part of it until you get the job. I'm going to talk about it more in details very soon. So let's update to less than 1 year experience, which is very much junior. Boom. That's the average for you. $78,000. Range 63 to 98K. Remember, we told you that we see our graduates getting 65 to 100K? Yeah, very similar to the range that Glassdoor says. Average of our graduates is 70-75, but keep in mind that this is average also for those that have 1 year, right? So it's very, very similar to the average of our graduates. Awesome. So now you can see that. It's not only called software QA engineer. We have different titles, different names. For example, QA analyst. Let's see how QA analyst looks like. Very similar to that. Okay, very similar range, very similar average, as you can see here. You want to call yourself QA tester? Okay, also very, very similar ranges, very similar averages. Different titles, different names, same type of job in most of the cases. So now let me show you a little bit about the demand. If you search for software QA engineer or QA analyst or QA tester on dice.com or monster.com or Indeed or Glassdoor or LinkedIn Jobs, you will see thousands and thousands of positions. Okay, for example, in Chicago, you see 6,000, more than 6,000 positions. If you go to, I don't know, New York, boom, more than 7,000 positions. If you go to, I don't know, Seattle, boom, more than 5,000 positions. If you go to San Diego, anyway, you can go and see after the lesson as much in any area. You will see in big cities, around big cities, see a lot of opportunities for software testers, for QA analysts, and many different other names that sound very similar. So that's regarding the demand. I just wanted to show you that. And now let me get back to our presentation. So something that also I wanted to mention is that whenever you're going to look into the job description of the jobs, you will see that companies are going to be asking for more experience, more tools, more knowledge, more programming languages, more this, more that, more Appium, more WebDriver, more automation. And it's okay, because traditionally companies are asking much more. They ask maximum they can, ask, right? So they ask as much as possible, but eventually someone who knows programming, someone who knows automation, someone who knows algorithms, someone who knows different tools and has a lot of experience will never work for less than 110K. But we are talking here about 70, 80, 90, 100K salaries. So those jobs will get to Meno QA like you guys. So just be aware of it, that you will see that the job description is going to ask, in most cases, probably 80% of the cases, going to ask for much more. But we see every single day, literally, how our graduates are getting those jobs. Even when they ask much more, they hire our graduates because they are confident, because they sound great, they know how to answer interview questions, they show real on-hand experience in their resume for the internship, and companies just hired them. So that's how it works. Just keep that in mind. And of course, we're going to teach you how to apply to jobs that even ask for more, but you will see very soon how they're going to give you calls, job offers, interviews and job offers, of course. So let's go to our next slide. And it's about the benefits of QA jobs. First of all, it's very, very, very easy to learn. You don't need a computer science degree. You don't need programming skills. You don't need, to know how to code. The compensation is great. 70, 80, 90, 100K definitely is awesome. One of the happiest jobs in the US, according to Forbes magazine. QA is one of the happiest jobs. You can Google it. QA, happiest job, Forbes, you'll find it. It's actually one of the reasons that I went into this industry. I also read an article about QA being one of the happiest jobs in the US. That's why the work-life balance is great. In tech, usually it's awesome, but especially in quality assurance, it's very, very cool. People are nice in most of the cases. You work remotely. That's why the work-life balance is even better, because you can spend more time with your loved ones, with your family. You can travel more. You can save gas, time, effort. It's definitely amazing. I can tell you, as someone who works remotely 100% for the past 5 years, it's amazing. And of course, as you saw, we have a lot of QA job openings. It's also considered one of the quickest ways to a job in tech, sort of a shortcut into our world, and you will have a lot of opportunities for career growth. Now, let me explain a little bit more, elaborate more about the career growth opportunities. So whenever you just start, you are a junior QA. You learn the theory, the terminology, how things called. You start a little bit to practice what you learned at certain point, you get your internship, your real experience, or a real job or an internship. One of those, it allows you to practice what you learned in the real world. And once you actually doing it, you're writing bug reports, you're executing test cases, you're testing different platforms and devices and using different tools and attending different meetings and working in a team, at that point, you already have real on-hand experience that you can show in the resume and the LinkedIn. And at that point, you can apply not only to junior QA positions, but also to mid-level QA positions that are just normal positions. They don't call themselves mid-level QA. No, they call themselves QA analyst, QA tester, software QA engineer, and many other titles, just a normal job. So in the range of the junior and mid-level QA, in both, you can get 65 to 100K salaries. Yes, you hear it right. 65 to 100K salaries for both junior and mid-level, which is $33 to $50 per hour. Of course, you will have sometimes companies that are going to offer you for junior position less, but we're going to teach you to tell those companies to never call you again unless they have what you want. And that's how you, of course, going to get the 70, the 80, the 90, and the 100K as well. So in case that your goal is to make the 80, 90, 100K, it's going to be perfect for you. But in case, by the way, you can do it for many, many, many years. I know people in this industry working for many, many years doing manual QA, making the 80, 90, 100K, and they're very happy. But in case that you want to grow, you want to make more money, you want to make more than 110K, in this case, you have two traditional options. Of course, you have all the options in the world, right? So you can become whoever you want. Please keep that in mind. But if you ask me about traditional career growth, options in our industry, you usually have two options. One is to become more technical, to learn programming language, for example, Python, to learn automation, to go into QA automation, to learn algorithms. In this case, it's going to be, of course, more complicated, more sophisticated, because manual QA, everyone can do it. It's super easy, very easy. Anyone can do it. QA automation going to be more challenging, more complicated, more sophisticated. But once you're going to master that and you're going to understand QA automation, you will be able to make between 110 to 170K. Okay? That's one option. The second option is to, you know what, before going to the second option, I just want to remind you that if you compare manual QA to QA automation, and we today are talking about the manual QA program, manual QA is very simple, very easy, anyone can do it, and it's the 65 to 100K salaries. While QA automation is more complicated. So if you compare manual QA, it's like elementary school, and QA automation, it's like master's degree or bachelor's degree, okay? So it's much more complicated. And I want you to keep that in mind, because the goal is to focus first on getting the manual QA job, the 70, 75, 80, 85, 90, 95, 100K salary. After you're going to get it, that's the perfect time to explore automation, give it a try. And I'm sure that if you're going to be focused, motivated, and dedicated, you will be able to learn QA automation as well. It's going to take 15 weeks to learn manual QA, and it's going to take 15 weeks to learn QA automation with us. But we do not recommend to start learning QA automation before you got your manual QA job. Just trust me on that, okay? Get the QA job first, get the 70, 80, 90, 100K, and then, of course, we highly recommend to learn QA automation, to give it a try, and to definitely explore it much more. So that's regarding the QA automation. In case that you are not technical, in case that you don't like coding, you don't like programming, you can go into leadership. You can become a QA lead or a QA manager or a QA director, where you're going to have more meetings, more responsibilities. With more responsibilities, you will also get more compensation, and there you also can make between 100K to 200K. Okay, cool. Now let's talk about the different titles. Remember, I told you we have different titles. Let me just see. Oh, we have a lot of questions, but I promise to answer those. I promise to answer those later. The job titles that you can apply for, it could be QA analyst, QA software QA engineer, manual QA, software quality engineer, and many other titles that you can see on the screen. But guess what? I'm going to show you now the next page, and we're going to have more titles. So I hope that you read those already. Now, let's see more names, more titles that you will be able to apply for. Wow. So all those titles, and it's just a small part, you definitely will be able to apply for after this program. And yes, according to Forbes, QA is the second happiest job in US. So QA training by careerist. You will get convenient online sessions like one now. It's going to be in Zoom. You will be able to ask questions, get answers. Right now, it's going to be in Zoom. Maybe in the near future, it's going to be other platform. But the idea is the same. You watch the lesson. You have the chat to ask the questions, to get the answers. You can watch it live, or you can watch the video recordings anytime that works best for you. You will get practical training from industry experts. I will introduce you our teachers and instructors very soon. After the lessons, you will be able to join the internship. I will talk about the internship in more details very soon as well. Then you're going to have one-on-one career coaching until you get the job, until the victory. You're going to have a personal career coach that will help you to prepare for the interview, for the resume, for the LinkedIn, to make sure that you sound good, that you sound confident, and of course, with the instructions and support during the job search, with the references once you get the job, and much more, because you get not only the career coach, but also during the lessons you're going to have a mentor. So you definitely going to be very much supported. So guys, I invite all of you to enroll now to our program. You will see below a button of your contract. All you need to do is just click the your contract and the get button. Now guys, those of you that already joined, you don't really need to do it again. It's just for those that still did not. You will have this button to the for the rest of the lesson. So please don't forget about it, and you can always click it. You are welcome to join. Today is lesson number 1. Now let me introduce you our instructors, our teachers. We have Patrick Siebenthal with over 6 years of experience working at Meta, also known as Facebook, Google, and Intel. We have Lana Levinson, senior software developer in test with over 10 years of experience working at Reddit. We have Ignacio Britos, QA manager with over 14 years of experience working at Intel, McAfee, and many other companies. Today, you're going to meet my friend Brandon Coley, who's going to teach the second part of the lesson. He's a software QA engineer at Beachbody. You also have Justin Bailey, lead software developer in test at Pioneer. We have Alex Vastovich, QA manager with over 9 years of experience working at various startups across the country, especially the Silicon Valley. We have Vitaly Yerokhin with over 12 years of experience. We have Vitaly Yerokhin from Indeed, Sofia Tsapchuk with over 10 years of experience, QA manager at Ring Central. We have Yuri Sokolov, QA lead at Google with over 10 years of experience. We have Hezron Padlan with over 12 years of experience working at Google, AT&T, Bank of America. We have Natalia Zahur and myself. Both of us have a lot of experience from Intel and Apple. We have Michael Perkansky, a QA engineer at Indeed. We have Maria Navarrete with over 14 years of experience working at Xerox and Dell Tech. And our graduates working for some of the world's most innovative companies, like the one you see in front of you, like Uber, Apple, Facebook, Intel. I'm sorry, Facebook is now Meta. Groupon, Amazon, Samsung, Visa, Intel, Dell, Nike, JP Morgan, and it's just a small part because we have much more than 1,000 companies already. And I see that we already have 42 states. Nice, because we just had 40 recently. It seems that we already have more. So I'm very, very glad about that. That's regarding the graduates that are working right now. It could be big companies, it could be small companies, it could be middle companies, it could be companies you heard about, it could be companies you never heard about. As long as they pay 65 to 100K, I don't think that you should care much, at least for the first job. Now, you probably think, oh, it's probably just jobs in tech. So not really. It could be many other industries as well. It could be finance, it could be sports, it could be media, it could be travel and transportation, it could be telecom, it could be dozens of other industries where they care about the quality, they care about the user, the experience, they care about the testing. There you will need QA. And that's why we have a lot of job opportunities. That's our map, success map, where our graduates are working. You can see in orange where our graduates are currently working. And you know what? It doesn't really matter where you live on the map, because most jobs, like last time we checked was 57%, but I'm sure that it's now much more. Most of the jobs are remote, 100% remote, sometimes hybrid, but most of the time are 100% remote. So it doesn't matter if you live in, I don't know, Nevada or Utah or Kansas or Nebraska. Doesn't matter where you live. You can get jobs in New York, in Chicago, in Seattle, in San Francisco, or vice versa. You have a lot of opportunities across the country. Remember, I told you that you can make 70 to 100K salaries, actually 65 to 100K salaries. Yes, of course. Up to 100K you can make in New York, in New Jersey, in Chicago, in Seattle, in San Francisco, in LA, in San Diego, of course, San Jose and the Silicon Valley. Definitely. Can you make 100K in other places? Yes, of course. Just it's going to be a little bit more rare. For example, in Texas, in Florida, in Georgia, you can definitely make up to 100K as well. But we see that the majority are getting 70 to 80. So do you want to be the majority? It's up to you. I'm sure that you will be better than the majority. So, rest of the country is usually 70 to 80K. But when I say usually, I mean what we see most of the time. It doesn't mean that tomorrow you will not get 100K or 110K anywhere on that map. You can definitely get it as well. That's the success map. And now let me show you what we actually do at work, because you're probably not sure yet, right? So let me show you, because I think that's the best way to learn and to understand who we are, what we do at work. So I will share my screen with you one more time. Boom. Let me go to just a random page, okay? So this is an e-commerce website. First of all, I will load the page. Boom, it loads the page. So we just tested the most important part, the functionality, and we made sure that the page loads. If it was a mobile application, we will check that the application loads without crashing the software. I'm sure that you saw how software crashes on your phone sometimes. So that's the first test. And remember, I told you that the first most important thing we test is how things work. So that's exactly what we do. We call it functional testing, how things work. So we start with the website or the application on your phone. Second, we click the buttons. For example, we have here a button, we click it. We make sure that it takes us to the right appropriate link. Yay, it took us to the home page. Probably that's expected. When we click search, it opens the search. We can search something. Okay, we don't have time right now to play with that. It's just an example. I want you to understand the main idea. So you have the cart, it opens something that looks like a cart, smells like a cart, but no, it doesn't look like a cart. But for our purpose, let's call it a page of the cart. Okay, so just imagine you have a cart here that where you can add different products, different clothes, just like eBay or Amazon, just as example. So those buttons, they work. That's great. Let's move to the next one. You see the shop now button? I click it, but oh no, it's not working. You know how we call it? We call it a bug. We call it a problem. We call it an issue. Whenever something is not working, that's a problem. So we definitely want to report that problem. So guys, you just saw a functional problem. Very soon I will show you how we report those problems. But meanwhile, let me show you more about the problems that we can see for functionality, for example. So for example, I will go to here and I will write Toyota, okay? And I go to Toyota, and on Toyota website, I see drop-down menu. I click it, it drops down. I click it again, it drops up. Cool. I click right, it goes to the right. I click left, it goes to the left. I want to see the Toyota. I want to see, for example, the Prius Prime. I click it, it opens Prius Prime. Yay! So that's what we mean functionality. Okay? We want to go to the gallery. We click the gallery, it opens the gallery. Yay! That's what we call functionality. We click the picture, it opens the picture. We close the picture, it closes the picture. That's what we mean by functionality. I hope that now it became more clear. So that's what we test. That's what we do at work. Now let me show you how we test how things look. We call it UI testing, user interface, or GUI testing, which stands for graphic user interface. And what it means we test how things look. For example, this model on the right, you see her face is covered. It's truncated or cut off or overlapped by this panel. You can probably describe it in many different ways, but the result is the same. We cannot see the face of this model, and it seems like if we use common sense that it's weird, it's strange, it doesn't look good. Of course, ideally, we want to compare to the design document, because usually we have a document that explains and shows how the website or the mobile application should look like. But sometimes we don't have it, and we just need to use common sense. So the common sense says that it looks weird. And I want to remind you, we are the voice of the customer. We are advocating the customer to make sure that the customer gets the best possible user experience. And that's why whenever we see that something is not working or not looking good or looking weird or looking strange or looking incomplete, we definitely want to report it. Okay, so that's example of a problem. You want to see more problems? Okay, so if we scroll down and it looks like an e-commerce website, when we scroll down we see this model on the right, and when I hover the mouse over this model, you will see that he or moves to the left, hiding the N letter. We call it overlapping. Whenever something hides something else, for example, a button that hides a text, or a text that hides a text, or a button that hides a button, or an image that hides a text, or a button, or whatever. We call it overlapping. And yes, we have it from time to time. You will see it a lot. You want more examples? Okay. You see this model on the left? When I bring and hover the mouse over it, it just changes the background, showing me here this zoom, favorite, compare, options, okay? When I bring the mouse to the other model, it keeps the same functionality, right? And the UI. But if I bring it to the third one, let's see what happens. Oh no, it's not consistent, right? This is consistent. This is not. It changes the picture. Whenever we see something is not consistent, we definitely report it, because for us, it's a problem. It's a bug. We don't like when something is not consistent. You want more examples? Okay. So you see those check boxes on the left? They don't appear on the same line. They are misaligned. They should be aligned, but they are misaligned. It looks weird. It looks strange. We definitely want to report it. Or another example, those fields. You see, this field is misaligned to this field. This field is misaligned to this field. This field is misaligned to this field. Looks weird, right? That's another issue that we report. But now I finally want to show you how we report those issues. For that, give me just 1 second. Just 1 second. I'm gonna be with you. Let me just see where we got. Just 1 second, guys. Bear with me. Here you go. In a few seconds, I will share my screen and you will see exactly how we report those problems. So I'm sharing the screen right now. Boom. This is just a website that we're going to use to practice. Okay? It's not the real one, just a demo. On this website, we have a lot of issues, a lot of problems, but let's focus just on one. You see this area, high salaries and demand icon over here? That's where I want to focus, because there is no icon here. It's grayed, it's not found, it's not there, it looks weird, looks strange. This is an icon, this is an icon, this is an icon, truncated icon, cut off icon, but still an icon. Here, it's not an icon, and it should be an icon there. So it's definitely a problem that we want to report. You know how we're going to report it? Very easy. But first, before we do it, I want to create a screenshot of the area where we have the problem. For that, you don't need to do it now. You just click on MacBook, Command-Shift-4, and you can select the area that you want to screenshot. If you have Windows, it's okay. You can do the same on Windows. Just go to Start, Search, Snipping Tool, and you will be able to do something very similar. And if you don't know how to do it now, it's okay. Relax. You will learn it in 2 minutes. It's very simple. So once I select the area and let it go, it saves the screenshot, the picture of the area that was selected on the desktop. You can take the picture of the whole screen, or you can take just the selected area, whatever works best for you. If you want to take the whole screen, it's Command-Shift-3 for the MacBook. For the snipping tool, you will find there how to take the screenshot of the whole screen. So once we have the screenshot, now we can go to the most popular bug tracking system in the world. It's called Jira. You see Jira? By the way, you will not need to install it. It's just on web. So all of you are going to get access to Jira once you join the program. You're definitely going to have opportunity to master your skills with Jira. Jira comes for Atlassian company, but the software called Jira. And basically, this is the most popular bug tracking system in the world. Most companies are using it, and those that are not, they're using something very similar to Jira. How we create bug reports? Very simple. We just click the Create button. Boom. I click it. I show you again. You see the Create button? I click it. It opens the form. And now, on this form, what you have is project name. Let's call it demo because we practice. At your company, you're going to have the project name of your project. Then you have issue type, which could be bug report for you, because that's what we do. We write bug reports. Then we have the summary, which is basically the title. It should be short and informative. It should show everyone what and where is the problem. So for example, in our case, the problem is that high salaries and demand icon is missing. So we're going to write here I already wrote it for you to save time and effort. We're going to write here in the title, main page. Let's call it the main page, okay? High salaries and demand icon is missing. We can always take this link and then we can add it in the description, which is going to have steps to reproduce. I just don't know why it shows 1 and 1. It's supposed to be 2. Okay. So steps: 1, go to this link. 2, observe high salaries and demand section. Actual icon is missing, right? Icon is missing. Expected icon should be visible. Okay, you don't need PhD in English literature to write something like that. Very straightforward. Then we have priority. How important is the problem to the company, to the business? It could be highest, high, low, lowest. Of course, because we care about our customers, we're going to call it high priority because it's the main page. If it was a page that nobody uses, it probably the priority would be lower, medium, maybe even low. But because it's something that appears on the main page, the priority is going to be higher. There are many different ways to determine the priority, but allocation is also one of them. Then we're going to have environment, where it was reproducible. Was it on your MacBook? Was it on your Windows? Was it on your Android device? Was it on your iOS device? Just examples of different devices. Whenever you work in a company, you don't need to think about it because your manager, your lead, is going to tell you which devices to test. You're just going to do what you're told. You don't need to decide by yourself which devices you're going to test next. Okay? It's usually more simple than that. Then we have the attachments where you can add the screenshot that we just created. Sometimes it could be a video. And assignee, who's going to take care of the problem. So usually as the developer, I'm going to choose my name in this case just for practice. But in your case, whenever you're going to get the job, it's going to be the developer. You're going to work with 1, 2, 3 different developers. One going to take care of front end, one going to take of back end, one going to test websites, the other gonna not test, gonna deal with websites, the other gonna be working with mobile applications. So after working couple days, sometimes couple weeks at work, you will know who is who, and you will know who you need to address the issue for. So long story short, project name, issue type, which is bug report, summary, which is title, which should be short and informative, should show everyone what and where is the problem. Whenever I say everyone, I mean that, an elementary school, graduates should be able understand from this title what and where is the problem. Description, the steps to reproduce, action, expected behavior, priority, environment, where it was reproducible, attachment, assignee, and finally, create button. We click the create button and boom, we just created our first bug report. Congratulations. Was that complicated? I don't think so. I think it was very, very simple, very straightforward. And that's how it looks. This is you can copy this link and share it with your team or your manager or the developer or whoever wants to see the bug. This is the title, the description, the environment, assignee, reporter. You can add comments here. You also can add attachments here. Was that complicated? Guys, please let me know in the chat. I want to know what you think. No. Cool, because I think it's very simple. Okay? And if you think it's simple as well, welcome to our world, because that's what is being paid 65 to 100K, $33 to $50 per hour for the past 25 years. Okay? It's not something new. It's been around all the time. But maybe you were not aware of it, or maybe you had something else to do. So welcome to our world. That's what we do at work. Of course, you're going to have different companies. And of course, in some companies, you're going to have to do a little bit more. In some companies, you will need to do a little bit less. In some companies, you will test the website. In others, you will test the mobile application. In third companies, you will test both. So it really depends. But in general, the job is very simple, very straightforward, and most of you definitely will be able to do it. So when I say most of you, I mean all of you can definitely do it. So let me tell you a little bit more about the plan of the course. First of all, the lessons, the 7 weeks of the lessons that start today. And the schedule below is for the lessons only, right? The lesson schedule below shows that it's going to be on Thursday, Tuesday, and Sunday, 8:30 to 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time, which is 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. Pacific Time. If you cannot watch it live, it's okay. You can watch it in video recordings anytime that works best for you. So that's regarding the schedule of the lessons. Then you're going to have remote internship for minimum 3.5 weeks, which is going to be 100% remote, and during which you're going to have internal project with Careerist for 1.5 weeks, after which you're going to have a real project with our partner for 2 weeks that can transform into 2 to 6 months during your job search, because you can remain part of the internship until you get the job, as long as you follow the instructions and you are actively applying for jobs. Both going to be remote. You don't need to be there all day. It could be 2 hours per day, and it's very flexible. So if you cannot do it in the morning, you can do it in the evening or in the lunchtime or during weekends, or very, 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 very flexible. So it's okay if you have jobs right now and you have kids and family and duties and things to do, you still can do this program. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the internship in our next slide. And meanwhile, let's talk about the career coaching, where you're going to have one-on-one career coach that will make sure that you sound good, that you prepared well, that you know what you're talking about. If necessary, the mentor, of course, the career coach will, of course, help you to sound better, to improve, to be better prepared, to be more confident. And whenever we say 4+ weeks, it's not 4+ weeks. It's actually much more, because your career coach will be with you until the victory during your job search, during your active job search, for sure. You just need to follow instructions, of course, to be nice and friendly, and your career coach will be with you till the victory. After the career coaching, I mean the 4 weeks, because the 4 weeks, they prepare you, for example, for the job search. After the 4 weeks, the career coach will still be with you until you get the job. But those 4+ weeks, what we mean is that it's the time, the range, basically the time that it's going to take you to be ready for the job search after the internship, after the 3.5 weeks of the internship. And then you can remain part of the internship. You're just going to have career coach as well. The internship and the career coach are super flexible, so don't worry about the time. You will be able to find time for that. It will not take a lot of time. Of course, during the career coaching, you will get preparation for the job interviews. And please don't forget that once you're going to be ready for the job search, you will start your job search, and it will be between 2 to 6 months. Of course, exceptions happen. Someone will get the job in 2 weeks, but most of you will see it in 2 to 6 months. Average is around 3 to 4 months. So that's regarding the course plan. And the curriculum, the lessons, we're going to teach you the theory, the terminology, the foundations of QA, web and mobile testing, server communication and test environment, test cases, bug reports. You're going to review homeworks, preparation for the job market, different advanced skills. You need to keep in mind that we will teach you what you need to get, do, and keep the job. Okay? So it's very important to understand that if you don't see something on that list, it means that you will not need it. Because we will teach you what you need, and we will not teach you what you don't. We are here to save your time and effort, so we will focus you on what you really need. So it could be writing bug reports in Jira, creating test cases in TestRail, web and mobile testing, different types of testing like compatibility testing different platforms and devices like iOS, Android, Windows, Mac, functional UI testing, black box and API testing, tools like Postman, Charles Proxy, SQL, Unix and ADB commands, Xcode and Android Studio to install and uninstall the applications, to create log files, Chrome DevTool, Browser Stack. If you have no idea what I just said, it's totally normal. Soon you will know and learn it, so don't worry about this. Just focus, following the instructions, and you will witness the results very soon. That's the course timeline. To illustrate you again, it's 7 weeks of the lessons, after which you're going to have 3+ weeks of the internship. That could potentially be much longer until you get the job. And after 3.5 weeks, you will start your career coaching with your career coach that's going to prepare you for the interview and going to focus you on what you need and going to make sure that you sound confident and prepared well. After we make sure that, of course, we're going to help you with the instructions, with the support, and even more. And I will mention the more very soon. When I say more, I mean that we actually can help you with the job search, our job application service that will save your time and effort. So guys, regarding the internship, it's 100% remote. It's going to be first of all with us and then with the real company. During the internship, you will practice what you learned, like writing test cases, executing test cases, writing bug reports, testing different platforms and devices, iOS, web and mobile. You will be able to work with the team. You will be able to attend meetings. It will be super flexible. And after the internship, you will learn everything you need to tell about your project, your team, what you did at work, and to put this experience in your resume. Also, we're going to help you with job application service that, like I mentioned before, that's going to gather the relevant positions in one place and will allow you to save your time and effort because you're going to have it in one place, and you will be able to apply for more jobs in less time. Definitely something worth trying, worth using. But just in case that for some reason, if you will not really feel super comfortable with using the job application service, you still can always look for the job on Glassdoor, on Indeed, on LinkedIn Jobs. You will have a lot of opportunities there as well. But we highly recommend to, of course, try using our tool. Now, I want to mention the Careerist Guarantee, because Careerist is fully committed to your success. We now offer 100% money back guarantee if you don't land the job in tech within 1 year of graduation. Refund eligibility requirements include, but not limited to, completing all training modules on time, submitting all projects and assignments by the deadline, following our job search instructions, and you can read all of the terms and conditions and the full details on our website, careers.com. I promise you will find the more information about the guarantee in the footer. So guys, let's talk about the price, about the different options. So we have 3 different options. The first one is to pay the upfront $5,600. You get the manual QA, which is the lessons, the internship, the career coaching, the support until you get the job, and basically everything we spoke about today. Again, if you already bought the program, you don't need to do it twice. That's just for those that still did not. The second option is the financing. In case you cannot pay the $5,600, you can pay the $320 per month for 20 monthly payments. It's going to be around $6,400. The reason that I say around is because it depends on your credit score, but it's definitely another option for you. I think both options are great. I think both options are going to be the best investment that you can make in yourself. Now, you will return the investment very quick because you're going to get the job by following the instructions in just 2, 3, 4 months in most of the cases. The third option is the QA bundle, where you get both manual QA and QA automation. Remember, I told you that I recommend first to get a job in QA and then start learning automation. That's exactly what I meant. You get the bundle, you get both manual QA and QA automation. You finish the manual QA first, you do the job search, you get the job, and then you come back for the QA automation after already working at least a couple weeks or couple months at the company. Whenever you feel confident at work, that's the best time to move forward to the more advanced level. So once you get the manual QA plus QA automation, you just get both of the programs. I recommend not to do it one after another. I recommend to finish manual QA first, get the job, and then come back for QA automation. It will always wait for you if you take the bundle. Definitely great option as well. So that's the different options that we have. So please reserve your seats. Just a reminder, you have the Your Contract button below. And before we jump forward, are there any certification exams to write? If yes, how many? No, you will not need any certifications exams. Of course, you will get a certificate of completion at the end of the program. You will have quizzes, you will have some homework, but I think you're going to have just one big quiz, but it's going to be not something that's going to take a lot of time. It's going to be usually 15 minutes of your time for most of you, just to make sure that you are on the same page with the rest and that we're listening for the lesson. So don't worry about the exams and the tests. Just watch the lessons, listen carefully, and I'm sure that you will not have any problems with them. But yes, you're going to have some quizzes, you're going to have some homework, but it's not going to be very crazy. I promise you that. Now, guys, the fun part starts here. I promise that at the end, I'm going to answer all of your questions, all of your concerns. But now we're going to have Brandon Coley, our software QA engineer at Beachbody, and your instructor for today. After the part of Brandon, I promise to join to answer your questions together with Brandon. But in case that you're going to have questions for Brandon regarding his part about the lesson, about the things that he's going to explain, please feel free to ask. Brandon would love to answer you. Regarding the course, regarding the program, regarding the industry, let's leave it to the end. We're going to answer it, I promise. Brandon, welcome. The class is all yours.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Appreciate the welcome. Hello, everybody. As stated, that's me. It's that bald guy up on your screen. So my name is Brandon. I am one of the instructors here with Careerist. This has been a tremendous opportunity for me. In addition to being an instructor here, I also do this out in the wild. As you can see, I am working at Beachbody. We're rebranding, so we're just called Body. This is a company based in the Los Angeles area. So I work with our video team. I get to do a lot of our front-end functional checks, making sure that all of our content is delivered across a variety of platforms. So we offer our app across, I have to say like 10 different native platforms. And I'll make sure that we're getting all that testing and then work with encoding and encrypting the videos, making sure that that's all done through AWS. So it's pretty cool. Don't have to do any coding. Don't need to do any website development, not doing any sales. All that good stuff. And then, so I'm able to work from home in my living room, making over 100K a year, just doing manual QA. So I think that this is a tremendous career for people to be getting into. It is a growth career. There is significant projected growth over the next 10 years. So for people that are wondering when the robots are going to come and take all of our jobs away, it's not today and it's not tomorrow. And I'm very sure that this industry will continue to grow and be a great opportunity for you. So I told you that, I'm an instructor here. I do this out in the real world, but I'm also a graduate of this program. So I took this exact course that you are looking at taking here this evening. This is the program that got me into software QA, where I got to start at 70,000 a year and then very rapidly grow into the six-figure range. So when I tell you that I speak from experience, I'm talking professionally, but literally, what you're doing here within this course. So I am very excited to speak about this from that perspective of kind of seeing it from all sides of the coin, I suppose, so to speak, right? For Jyoti, who just joined, yes, this is for manual QA, absolutely. And Sierra, no, you won't need to learn AWS. That's a secondary thing that I've picked up at my job after a couple of years. You wouldn't need to know how to do that to do manual QA. So welcome everybody. Good stuff. I see we have a pretty good spread of people from all over the place. I think I actually saw somebody coming in from Colombia as well, which I hold personally close to my heart. Gabriela, yes. Bienvenidos, buenas noches. So let's get into the content here. So we've been talking a little bit more about, what is software quality assurance. And I do actually like to kind of back that up, because if you're like me, you might be coming into this with zero technical experience, which, quick show of hands, let me know if you're coming into this course and you have no technical background, meaning you don't have a computer science degree, you're not a web developer, you don't know how to code, you don't have a UX portfolio. Is that where people are coming from? Just curious. Cool. All right. I'm seeing a good spread of people here again. Yes. So that's cool. So the reason I ask is because that was my background. That's where I started. I did 10 years in the fitness industry. I was a fitness manager, gym manager, doing all that fun stuff. And then I pivoted, did another 5 years in property management, real estate, commercial sales. So 15 years of professional experience that had absolutely nothing to do with QA. I didn't even know it was a thing. So yeah, that could certainly be where you're coming from. If you don't have a technical background, it's not a prerequisite for your success. You don't need to have that sort of prior education in order to make good money in this industry and be very successful. So for everybody that just gave me a high five, a wave, a salute from that's a good one. Yeah, then I can speak to you very confidently that you can do this job as well. Okay. And then Corinne's asking about SQL. Yeah, we will cover SQL. When you say touch it deeply, you won't need to be like masterful of it. You're going to need to know the fundamentals, which is what we cover in the course. So good question. All of that, a bit of a tangent there. But I do like to back things up. If people are talking about software quality assurance, we could even just say, what is quality assurance? Right? Because this is sort of an umbrella term. It exists outside of tech as well. It's a process where we assure the quality of any product that a company is building. And so you might identify with this a slightly different way. So as an example, if there was a car factory, there's a need to build a car. And so there's a factory in place for that. It doesn't just magic itself out of nowhere, right? There are analysts that are going to be making a plan for this car. You know, they want to talk about how it's going to be built, what materials are they using, the measurements, all the schematics, you know, so on and so forth. That gets passed on to the engineers and the help of their little robots. But the engineers are the ones that actually build the car. Now, we don't just kind of build the car start to finish and say, yes, you know, send it off to the lot. Along the way, it has to be tested hundreds of times. There are hundreds and hundreds of safety checkpoints, functional checkpoints. So we want to make sure that all of the construction, the electronics, all of those things are going to be tested, right? Was the electrical chassis hooked up correctly? Are all 4 tires on securely? You know, did we hook up the transmission? So on and so forth. This is quality assurance, right? You're assuring the quality of any product that's being built. So if you can visualize things a little bit more mechanically, that's another area that this exists, right? So for software quality assurance, you know, in a broad stroke, we are monitoring software development procedures to make sure that they are reaching the quality that we want. So if a company wants to add a new functionality to any of their existing apps or websites or anything, let's say like a chat function right now, right? AI is all the rage. Everybody wants to incorporate AI into their company at some level. And I think a chat bot is a good way for them to do that. So if a company wants to do this, they're going to have some sort of documented outlines, product requirements, or acceptance criteria. These phrases can vary a little bit. We call them ACs in my company, acceptance criteria. These get sent to the engineers who are going to code and develop this chatbot. They're going to have to basically plug it into all the places it needs to be plugged in, right? It needs to be tested extensively, heavily, before it gets released into production. We need to make sure that it's meeting all of those requirements that we just talked about. And it functions and is designed and looks the way that it says that it should. Our job is to identify all of the critical problems and issues that can and will totally come up during the development process. And we want to notify the developers. Somebody had asked this question earlier about like, what do we do when something breaks? And several of you were quick and correct to respond by pointing out that we don't fix issues, which is a really nice benefit of this industry, right? You don't need to know how to code. We're not actually correcting problems. We are efficiently and with good detail identifying, documenting, and communicating what these problems are to the developers, and then they fix that. So I said that things will come up as problems. Things will break. That is going to happen. It is not possible to create an error-free software. Who has an app on their phone right now that has a bug in it, right? I bet, again, show of hands, I bet a bunch of you could say, yes, there's an app I use or a website that I use today, now, that a company that makes millions of dollars a year is putting out there, like there are bugs in it, right? It's complex. We expect this. Companies will miss things during development. It's very, very complex and kind of delicate the way code happens on the back end. Yeah, in my banking app. Yeah, Javier, that's not a place we want to have bugs, right? So, you know, it's very complex. It's very in-depth, and it's kind of convoluted sometimes. But an effective SQA process, which is what we are part of, will help minimize the number of bugs to what we would consider an acceptable level. Okay, so we are proactive, we are preventative. You know, we are doing the bulk of our work before a product gets out there to the consumers and the clients and the customers. So we analyze the whole process of the software development. You know, if we get handed off designs to validate that those are correct, the development, the testing, the release deployment, when this thing goes to production. Production is what we call it when it's out in the world where people download it and access it. And then the maintenance phase as well, a little bit. We can talk about that in more depth a little later on. So if we talk about the what is software testing, this is a functional part of quality assurance. We're basically determining if the end result is what is expected. And so what does that mean? On this chatbot that we're talking about, this AI chatbot, if the requirements say that it should exist in the lower right corner for all of your apps, like it should be a green button with a chat symbol on it. And when you click that green chat symbol, the pop-up window should open up. So if the requirements say there should be a green button, we want to check, make sure, is there a green button? We're checking this on a pass or fail basis. When I click the button, does the chat box expand? Yes or no? Very, very binary, right? Pass or fail. We will be checking this against a predetermined set of requirements. So if you're going to ask, well, how do I know what to check? Again, these are those, the product description requirements or the acceptance criteria that we just talked about. This is known to you because it is given to you, so you don't have to guess. Okay, so we will inspect this under a variety of different test methodologies, and you know, testing that we do, that manual functional testing, that's going to be providing stakeholders the possibility to see if the product that is getting developed meets their expectations. Okay, so stakeholders are the, if you're not familiar with this term, they're the people that have a vested and usually financial interest in this product being built. So they are one of the two groups of people that we really want to make sure are comfortable and satisfied with the product that's being built. Okay, so stakeholders, that's group number one that we advocate for. Group number two is going to be the end user, our clients, our customers, right? So manual testing is going to require you to play that role, to play that end user role, to check the quality of the software and make sure that everything is working correctly, right? There are a whole bunch of methods out there to test applications, but it's not complicated. So I don't want you to overthink all of the information out there. It is easy to go down a rabbit hole and get this sort of analysis paralysis where you're endlessly Googling and watching things like, I need to know every single you know, search method and terminology possible. Like, don't overthink it, right? Let's just keep this very cut and dry. So when you're playing the end role or the end user role, that's how we advocate for the user, is making sure that if I was a new client and I've never used this app before, what is my experience, right? That end user is not very technical. So that's why a lot of our checks are going to be manual. That's why this is manual QA. You don't need to act with a tremendous amount of technical knowledge. You just want to think like, what does a customer do? That will make you more knowledgeable about the product, and it will probably lead to you finding some interesting bugs or problems that maybe someone else had missed. We can also design test scenarios. Remember, I said that requirements are given to you, but you may also design test scenarios and then execute them one by one before verifying these results. So you can think of a test, execute it, and then say, did this pass or did this fail? Any differences between your actual and desired results, these are what we call those bugs or those defects or those problems. And that's when we file a bug report. So the bug report, as Max showed you, is very easy to create. We're going to write that up in a matter of minutes. We send that to the developer, and then they fix them. They will then send that to us and say, hey, Kevin or Javier or Matthew, you know, that bug you reported, I have a fix for it. I've updated the code. I want you to go test it again. So then we retest and make sure that it's been fixed. If it has been fixed, great. We move it on as done. If not, we send it back to the developer and we reopen that bug report and say, no, unfortunately, this is still not fixed. Here's a nice screenshot of it breaking. Here's some extra data that I pulled up from Charles Proxy or something. Very easy to do. So I mentioned that a lot of our work is preemptive, it's preventative, but we do also participate in the maintenance stage. After software has been released and they have it in their hands and they're getting, sucked into their phones or their laptops or desktops, we will, on some level, take part in the maintenance stage. So we will not directly monitor user feedback, but there likely will be a customer support team, and they will pass on information where you might get feedback and says, who's this? Javier, for your mobile banking app, right? If people are reporting all of a sudden, oh, I can't download my statements, or I can't change my username on my profile, or I'm not allowed to deposit any money into my account. That's going to be user feedback that comes to us. And then we, as manual QA engineers, are going to go in there, try to reproduce this, validate that it's a bug, and document everything so that the developers, again, can fix this. So that's how we take part in that, the maintenance phase as well. That's a bit of talking from me. And also, you got to hear a lot of background information from Max as well. For lesson 1 this evening, we do open this up for people that have not yet had the chance to enroll. If you have enrolled already, you don't need to double enroll. You don't get double credit. That would be pretty fun, right? So if you have enrolled, congratulations. Welcome to lesson 1. If you have not, this is a great opportunity for you to enroll. I've still left the get your contract box open there in the lower left corner. I don't need your firstborn. I don't need any majorly bodily organs. This is just showing an intent for the program. So first name, last name, email, and phone number. One of our advisors can reach out to you if this sounds like something you want to do. If you think, yeah, I want to get paid, 70 to 100K to look at apps and websites and tell people when something's wrong, which is in a nutshell kind of what we do, then definitely take advantage of that. Okay. There we go. And then yes, Max has provided the advisor's email. So take that as a note, kind of copy paste that if you want to reach out to them as well. Quick show of hands again. Who has heard of automated testing or QA automation or automation QA or any combination of these words? Okay, yeah. So people have heard of this before. Okay. I think it's becoming more and more common that people have heard of this, especially as we get into sort of this AI age. Everything's always automated, right? For people that have heard of this, you may have also heard the incorrect assumption that automated testing or QA automation is better than manual QA. If you have heard that, not your fault. This is a common misconception, but I do want to squish that theory right here tonight. So automation testing is a testing technique. It is part of a complete skill set on a team. One is not better than the other. A hammer is not better than a saw, right? They just perform different tasks as part of a complete construction set, if you want to think about it like that. So automation testing is a technique that involves executing test cases using special automated software tools. So this is oversimplifying it a bit, but effectively the automation testers would take manual test cases and using code, they would convert these into scripts. So once they've identified what can be automated, they'll write the code, and execute this code, and then they are responsible for maintaining and monitoring these tests that they've constructed and they're running. There are, pros and cons to both of these methodologies. I think certainly for automation testing, it's very effective by running repetitive tests multiple times a day, so that I, Brandon, don't have to sit there and run the same test 200 times in an hour, right? Code can do that. A computer can do that. I don't need to do that. These faster test cycles, if you can say, hey, I want you to hit this server every 10 seconds and make sure that we can still pull data from it, that's going to allow testers to identify errors much more quickly. Like if a service goes down or if something's not pointing with the correct API, it's not pointed at the right endpoint, right? So automation testing can help find that very quickly. It can also take out some of that human error, right? let's add that chatbot to our app. And then we're anticipating that 50,000 new customers are going to log on and download this app on the first day that we put it onto the store, right? So if we want to check, hey, can this thing actually handle 300 logins in a 30-minute period? I can't do that, right? Like I only have 10 of these. I will make mistakes. I will introduce human error into the process. Automation testing can handle that, no problem, right? So that's definitely a place where it can be advantageous and it can help us out. Sort of, I guess maybe I don't want to call these a con, but considerations for why automation testing won't serve you in every scenario is that it does require specialized equipment. Like you will need to use Selenium. You will need to learn Python. You will need to use these specific platforms and plugins for automation testing. It usually requires a technical background. You can't be a complete noob and just jump into the fire without having some understanding of QA and technical processes. It will very oftentimes require a computer science degree or existing coding skills. It's a lot more time intensive to learn this. Now you can learn, I'm not trying to scare you off from this, but you can learn it for sure. But manual is faster to learn. You're always going to need that first. Like I think anyone can do this, or almost anyone can do manual QA. And I genuinely believe that. I would not say the same for automation. Automation is much more data dense. It is much more time intensive. It is more difficult, right? I would agree with the fact that manual QA is like getting your high school diploma. Like we can all hack that. But not everybody's cut out to get a master's degree or go and get a bachelor's out in college, right? So there is a difference in difficulty, but you can learn that if you are interested. But please, please, please do manual first. There are other components too where manual is going to be better, right? It is faster at addressing these customer complaints. Remember, Javier can't get onto his banking app. Automation testing really doesn't play a role in there. That's a manual tester's job to go in there and start investigating his use case, figure out what's going on. So that human element is important. There's always going to be a need for manual QA. I will disagree if someone says that, oh, manual QA is going to go away in the next 5 years because everything will be automated. I don't believe that. I very strongly don't believe that. I can rant about this more later, but in a nutshell, yes, as manual QAs, like we will in the next 5-10 years interact with automated tools that help us do our manual processes, but we're not going to be completely automated out of the picture. Like we will be there to steer these machines and help them do their jobs. All right. So anyways, that's my TED Talk on automation testing. Just wanted to make sure we touched that again. One is not better than the other. They are both part of a complete, well-rounded team. It is possible that you go into a smaller company like a startup or they're low funding and they only have manual QAs. That's totally possible. If you ever saw a company that only had automation testers, I think they might not understand the value of QA. They're kind of missing the point, but you will probably be on a team that has both. Okay. I mentioned earlier that there are over 50 different subtypes of testing. Again, don't get overwhelmed. We are going to be primarily focusing on just a few of them. It's good to know some terminology. It's good to know some implementations, first for your interviews, and then later on when you actually apply these things in the real world. But let's go over some terminology here. Now, these are words you're going to hear or phrases you're going to hear. Black box testing, and then gray box and white box testing. On this first one on your left, in black box testing, this is where you examine the functionality of an app without having access to the source code. Okay, so you don't need to know how the app is built, what APIs are being used. You don't need to understand, the React code or the Python code or whatever it's built on. Like you don't need to see it. So we call it black box. Think of like it's a box you can't see inside, right? It is opaque. You don't know how the gears all click together. And that's fine, because what we do as functional manual testers, we're doing black box testing. This is where we live, right? We're doing the manual functional checks where we don't need to access the code. We don't need to know. Jyoti, you had asked, is QA automation more advanced than manual QA? Absolutely. That's what we were just talking about, right? It is much more advanced, which is why it's harder and it takes longer to learn. So that's black box testing, right? That's where we live. That's where we play. That's functional testing in a nutshell. Now, on the other side of the coin, you have white box testing. So with white box testing, you would have access to the source code. You would have the knowledge and the capability to analyze it and be able to design more tests based on that source code. But that's not something you need to do. You don't really need to be writing unit tests to be checking all of the code, right? So that's, just so you know it, that's white box testing, understanding the source code, writing tests based on that knowledge. We don't need that. And then gray box testing is living in the middle, right? Because we understand how colors work. And if you take a little of this, a little of that, so this is going to be combining the two of these. The aim for gray box testing is, going to be looking for defects due to either an incorrect architecture of the software itself or an improper use of the application. So one could argue that you start to get into gray box testing once you get deeper into, let's say, if you're using Chrome DevTools and you're looking up the API responses, like your gets and your posts, you're looking in the network tab and seeing that sort of activity, that does kind of require you to understand the architecture of the software. And so that can lean into gray box testing. You may arrive here over time, or you may not. It kind of just depends on your company. So yeah, that's how colors work, right? So black box, gray box, and white box testing. I want to leave this slide and just remind you all that we live in the black box world. So that's where you're going to be starting out. Don't be afraid of needing to understand the code or anything like that. So on the next one here, we're going to be talking about the main testing types. Now, I've said this functional testing several times here this evening, and so has Max. Let's make sure that we understand the differences between functional and non-functional testing. So with functional testing, we're testing what software does based on its specifications. Okay, so how compliant it is with specific functional requirements. Okay, if we were to word this a different way, I would say that functional tests are confirming that something is doing the right things. Okay, it's very binary. It's very pass or fail, yes or no, black or white. That's functional testing. Like, is it doing the correct thing? Non-functional testing, you can see here on the right, this is testing for non-functional requirements. So how well the software functions rather than specific behaviors. So non-functional testing is, you could kind of break this down and say, like, does this fall outside of a yes or no answer? So, is it doing things the right way? That's going to be more about feel, and it's more about the quality, not just the quantity. So functional tests, remember, we're checking against a set of specifications for like strictly necessary components. Non-functional checks are going to be properties that can impact the use of the end user, their experience, the speed, but they're not strictly needed for functionality. Okay, so performance testing, reliability under load, speed testing, these are non-functional tests because there is no yes or no answer to that, right? If we were to use Google search as an example, I think this is a pretty easy one to understand. If you go to Google, you go to that input query and you type something in and you click search, functional tests could be like, yeah, can I click on that box? Can I type something into the field? Can I click search? When I click search, do I get a list of results back, right? These are yes or no. Non-functional testing would be like, how well does it work overall? Like the speed of the results coming back. If I perform 100 searches, how much does that drain my battery? Things like that. Those are non-functional tests, right? Because it's about how it feels. It's about the quality, not just the quantity, right? So we as manual QAs, we're going to be focused primarily on the functional testing side of this. Okay, does that make sense? Just kind of understanding at a high level the difference between functional and non-functional. Are we all on board? Like, you picking up what I'm putting down? Cool. All right. It makes sense. What I like to hear. If it did not, I would, try to give you more examples, but I think we've cut that one up pretty well. Cool. Let's do one more slide, do a little bit more terminology here before we open things up for questions. So these are common testing types. These are phrases that you will hear in your testing journey. So exploratory testing, the first one here, this is an approach that is going to be focusing on discovery and learning and investigation. And you kind of already do this in your life, right? Whether or not you're aware of it, you do exploratory testing when you're using new apps or new websites. Because this kind of testing is going to be relying on your own experiences, your own intuition, and your own creativity, sort of based on your exposure to apps in the past and websites in the past. So we can quickly design tests in our head, right? Or just quickly identify a test that we could perform and then execute it. So, we could also describe this as simultaneous test design and execution, which is a bit of a mouthful, but think about what that means. It means in my head, I'm designing a test and then I'm carrying out that test. So like many of us do, you all go to the App Store or the Play Store, you download a new app because you're like, oh, I need this app that does, whatever it does, right? Tracking finances, some AI generation stuff, what else? Educational platform, something like that, right? So you download the app and it says, would you like to go through the tutorial? And you're like, nope, I know how to use an app. And then you start poking around and you say, well, okay, I think that this is where I go to input my financial information, right? Like there's an icon up top. I think that's my account information. Let's go see if I can put my credit card in there. So you've designed a test in your head. You said, I think that's where that is stored. Let me go check. So then you perform that test. You execute that test, right? So you kind of do this already. And so this mentality or this methodology of exploratory testing is something that you will continue to do as manual QAs. So it is exploratory in its nature and its definition, right? If I were to break this into one sentence, it would be, you don't have technical requirements for the app. You're going to use it and learn as you go. Easiest way I could break that down, right? So this is where that thinking like the end user comes into play. Non-technical tests like kick the tires, click around. Let's, does this page open the way that I expect? If it's an educational platform, does this button take me to lesson 1? How do I document my results for lesson 1? I think it's this check mark. Let's find out, right? So on and so forth. Our middle term here is smoke testing. Now, smoke testing gets its name because we want to make sure that there's no smoke after we've deployed our application. And very specifically, we all know that that phrase of where there's smoke, there's fire. So really, we want to make sure that nothing's on fire. So this is testing most important functionality of software, and it's verifying that software appears to be working correctly. This will come before a more in-depth testing run. So before you dive real deep into the water, you want to make sure that all of the sort of critical high-level functionalities appear to be working correctly. This will be most commonly done after you've deployed your application to a new environment, and probably the production environment, most likely. You want to make sure that all of these components are running. Can you log in? Can you, generate an account? Can you buy something? Very, very high level stuff. And then that's going to get you ready for the actual test process. So how this works in the real world is you get a group of you on a phone call. You're ready to deploy the latest version of your app. Maybe you've added that chat box that we were talking about, right? The chat bot. So you push that code out so that people can download it. And then you all go onto your stores and you download it right away and you start testing it, right? You start poking at it and making sure that you don't see any smoke. You don't see anything on fire. So that's smoke testing. Regression testing. This is going to ensure that new changes in software do not break any existing functionalities. Okay. So we want to make sure that everything that used to work on our app continues to work on our app as we go through, right? So, this AI chat bot, I keep going back to a banking app just because, you mentioned it earlier. So, let's continue down that road, right? prior to adding this chat bot into the app, you could log onto your account. You could download statements. You could look at your balance. You could initiate transfers. You could activate new cards. You could report fraud on one of your cards. You know, all of these things that you could do in your banking app already. Now we're adding that chat bot. Once we've added it, we are going to do our regression testing and make sure that these new changes did not break any of those existing functionalities. Okay. If you find a defect that was not existing on a previous version, right? So before adding this chatbot, everything was peachy. Then you added it in, something that used to work no longer works. That's called a regression bug. Okay. It's a defect which did not exist in an earlier version of the product. So let's recap these 3 testing types before we move on, because I do see we have some questions. Exploratory testing, right? No technical requirements have been given to you. You just use it and learn about it. Number 2, smoke testing. Make sure there's no smoke. Make sure there's no fire. Please don't let my app burn down. Okay. Regression testing. Make sure that my new stuff doesn't break my old stuff. Make sure my new toys play with my old toys correctly and that nothing breaks that used to work. Okay. Any questions about these terms before we move on to just sort of open question time? And I'm going to answer this question right now from Sohail, who's saying, can you please help? I have 8 years of experience in web designing and want to do manual QA. Can I please help you? Of course, if you sign up for this course, this is going to be everything that you need in order to become a manual QA, which is why we're here and why I'm very excited to talk about this program with you. So to answer that question for you, of course I can help you. I and the rest of the instructors here can do that with this course. It didn't sound like we had any other questions about that slide. So with that being said, if this sounds like something that's interesting to you, if you think that you could do this job, if you think that you could, again, get a starting salary of 70 to 100K a year, investigating apps, investigating websites, trying to find things that are broken or not as expected, then this could be a great career for you. Let's get you started. And now let's bring Max. Where is my best friend Max? We'll see if we can get him back on stage, and then we can jump into some of the questions here. And where are my, there we go. You know what? I'm just going to go through some of these right now. So let's get from the first one I got. So Miriam, you had asked approximately how much time does it take to go from a junior to mid-level and more within the QA career? So that can depend, right? It can depend on the company. It can depend on the requirements that they have of you, your past experience, how well you can communicate with the team and get things done. So I'm going to give you a sort of a vague "it depends" answer, which probably is not what you're looking for, but it could be 6 months. It could be 2 years. You know, that's going to depend on where you land. Max is here. Right. Hello, sir.
Yes, I'm always with you guys. So let's see your questions. How long is this course? It's 15 weeks, 7 weeks of the lessons. I'm just going to remind you really quick because maybe you missed it for some reason. So I will show you. 7 weeks of the lessons. Today is lesson number 1. Then you're going to have internship for 3.5 weeks. I'm sorry. Yeah, 3.5 weeks. But you can remain part of the internship until you get the job during your job search, which means that this experience could potentially be 2 to 6 months in your resume. And the LinkedIn, it's very flexible, the internship. You don't need to do it all day long. It's just 2 hours per day. You can choose the time that works best for you, in the morning, in the evening, in the lunchtime, during weekends. Very, very flexible. Then you're going to have the career coaching for 4 to 6 weeks. That's going to prepare you for the job search. And the job search going to be for 2 to 6 months. Now it's more clear. Now let me answer of your questions. I promise we're going to answer all. So, by the way, if you're going to have questions in the future, tomorrow, you can always email advisors@careerist.com. You can see it on the screen. do large companies usually need manual or automated testers? I believe you answered, right?
I did. I was going to say
Oh.
they need both.
Exactly. And I love how you started with it depends, which it really is. Will be the internship paid? So the internship going to be unpaid. It's for you to get on hand real experience. The internship is unpaid. Whatever going to be paid is the job that you're going to get by following our instructions, getting the 65 to 100K salaries. Can smoke test be done during the exploratory testing? So it's different kinds of testing, but theoretically, yes, but actually, the exploratory testing is just exploring the application, going from different sections of your website or your mobile application, basically exploring it as a user. Okay, if by mistake following those exploratory testing, you will be actually doing the same steps that the smoke testing is having. It's possible, but just don't try to combine both. It's different types of testing. The good news is that you don't need to think about type of testing too much because you basically do what you're told. So you get a bunch of test cases, of test steps that you need to follow, that you need to execute. And by doing that, you don't really care how this type of testing called because you're just following instructions. Why we teach you different types of testing? Because that's the theory, that's the terminology, that's the something that you definitely need to get familiar with for the interview, for better understanding the industry. But at work, eventually, you're just going to do what you're told. For example, they're going to give you smoke testing, which is going to contain a lot of different steps to follow, and you're just going to do it. Would we get to choose what type of internship we can do? Example, tech or other. So we have internships. We have some new internships. We have some internship that come, some internship that go. So if we're going to have multiple options, probably it's possible to choose. But if we will not have multiple options, you will just do the internship that's going to be provided for you. Are all the courses...
This might be asking, like, are you going to get a certificate that's appropriate for the job market?
Okay. Yeah, I was trying to understand the question.
Yeah.
So the course...
I think in short, yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
right.
So the course that we're talking about, QA, manual course, definitely going to prepare you for the job. We are a licensed education provider. And at the end of the program, you will get a certificate of completion. Will companies ask you for a certificate of completion? Most likely, they will never do. But we're still going to give you the certificate because you completed the program and you should have it. And if one company out of 1,000 going to ask for it, you will be able to provide it. Just completed my bachelor in computer programming. Wow. Will that boost my salary if combined with manual QA? Well, definitely it will boost your job search because companies are going to kidnap you if you have technical background, especially if you have computer science or something technical like that. So probably if we talk about 2 to 6 month job search and 2 to 4 month average job search, for those that have technical background, it might be much faster. That's the difference. About boosting the salary, definitely having technical background or computer science degree will allow you to get to 100K and 110K probably faster than for others. Although I know many cases where people don't have any technical background and they get first job 100K or 105K. So it's definitely possible as well. But the chances to get it for people with technical background are even higher. I have the QA bundle. Good job. I know this isn't recommended, but can I go into the automation section of the program right after the manual section? Then do my internship in career coaching. After that, I'm planning to leave my current employer within the first quarter of 2024. Wow, you are
You have a plan.
very well planned. Yes. So I think you answered the question in your question, because you said, I know it's not recommended. So I always recommend to follow the recommendations. Okay. But again, if you want to go against the recommendation and you want to learn manual QA and QA automation right after, it's your choice and you can do it. And maybe for certain percent, probably around 5%, it's going to be a good idea. But we think about the majority. We think about all of you guys. And we know that for 95% of you, it will be a blocker, it will be a headache, it will distract you from focusing on what you need to get the job, pass the interview, and get the high-paying job in tech. And that's the reason why we don't want to distract you. We don't want you to lose the focus. And we recommend you to focus getting the job in manual QA first. And only after that you got the job and you work there for a month or two, and you feel confident and you know what you're talking about, and you feel that you actually can do the job and learn something else at the same time, that's going to be the perfect time to start your automation. But again, maybe you can combine both. It's your choice. But I recommend just to follow the instructions and the recommendations, but eventually it's up to you. Will the course come with written notes, or we have to take our own notes? So you will get presentations of the lessons, and I recommend, of course, some people taking notes going to help them, because that's the way they learn, that's the way they memorize things, that helps them to memorize. So in your case, if it really helps you, you can do it. Just make sure that it doesn't distract you from listening to the lesson and to the material. But I personally think that if you can just watch and listen and understand, you don't need to write notes, because you will get the presentations with the material after each lesson. I'm Canadian. You talked a lot about US. Can I still do the course with you? Yes, of course, you're very welcome. And we have many people in Canada, and we have graduates working in Canada, and the salaries in Canada are very similar. The only difference is that those numbers are going to be in Canadian dollars. That's the only difference. For those that outside of US, you're also welcome, and you also can get jobs. The only difference is that the salaries that we discussed today, the 65 to 100K salaries, the $33 to $50 per hour, are for Canada and US. For other countries, you're still gonna be able to get jobs in your countries, but the salary is gonna be 5 to 7 times less, which means that it could be a very nice salary in other countries. For example, $1,000 to $2,500 per month. It's a very decent salary in many parts of the world. And sometimes making 2,500 in certain countries going to be very similar to making 10,000 per month in US, because it's much more expensive here. Okay, so just please keep that in mind. Let's see. Why isn't all manual QA outsourced to cheaper labor outside of the US? That's a great question. And I think that many jobs, many companies actually hiring people in other countries to save money. And I think it's a great idea. But we don't really care about those companies, because we focus on those companies that are on our market, those that are hiring people in the US, because the job boards that we're going to use are job boards in the US, because many companies, they want people here. They want people with the American culture. They want people that know the language. They want people that understand the American user. And of course, many of them want to, hire Americans and people that live in the U.S. and support the industry. And also, many companies cannot outsource because of security, privacy risks, data risks, especially if it's related to the government or finance or many different regulations. They're just not, they cannot outsource or send it to other countries. So lucky us, because we have so many opportunities in the US. So great question, Clara. What exactly is QA lead? Well, it's basically a QA that leads other QA people, that can mentor them, that can basically prepare them, share knowledge with them, give them tasks, probably got some leadership skills, management skills. That's what QA lead is. By the way, Brandon, in case you want to add something, you're always welcome.
I'm so glad you said that, because that is something I could add a little bit too. Yes. So if you are looking to become a QA lead, this is going to be a position where you are expected to be more of a source of knowledge. So you need to make sure that people can come to you and ask questions about the documentation, about the functionality, about the implementation, and you should have that. So if you are looking to go down that path, be good with documentation, be good with your communication with your peers, and like Max said, be able to educate other people. And you also have to be a good strategist. Like, you have to think about, how will I organize this testing run? If I have 12 QAs underneath me as a QA lead, what is the best way for me to allocate work to each one of these and get all of my platforms covered correctly? So if you are interested in that path, those are some things to consider.
And I want just to add that a very important skill in quality assurance is common sense. Okay? If you're going to have common sense, you will be able to do this job and be great QA person, QA tester, QA analyst, QA engineer. So two things: common sense and attention to details is who we are. So what, with the QA bundle, how long of a break can I take between manual QA and automated QA after getting the first manual QA job? A great question. It depends. If you're going to feel very comfortable and confident about the job that you're doing after the first week, you can do it right after that. If you're going to feel after 1 month or 2 months or 3 months or 4 months or 5 months or 6 months, it's up to you. We're always going to be waiting for you to come back to take the more advanced program to move forward in your career. I hope that I answered your question. How long is career services good for? Will they still be there after we get our first job? So guys, our goal is to help you get your high-paying job in tech. Once you got the job in tech, by following our instructions, you already know how to answer interview questions, where and how to apply, and you can do it whenever you want. After getting the first job, you can always continue the job search, asking for more money, more benefits. For example, you got 70K, the next week you continue the job search asking for 90K or 100K. So we always encourage you to move forward and make more money and be more happy and more satisfied in your career. So basically, I hope I answered your question about it, right? So I don't know what you really meant by career services, but your career coach will be with you until you get the job. After you got the job, that's it. You already know how to do it. You just need to continue. Of course, we're always going to be here for you if you're going to have a question or you will need a suggestion or recommendation, we would love to help and answer. Will there be any additional training needed to start career in manual QA, or does this careerist cohort cover it all? It covers it all, okay? To get the job in QA, to make 65 to 100K, that's the program. You don't need anything else. Are most QA jobs going to be contract? I don't think so, because I told you earlier that it's pretty much 50%. 50% contract, 50% full-time. Will it change to 60% contract and 40% full-time? Maybe. Will it affect you much? I don't think so. It will affect maybe articles about statistics. But you personally, individually, when you apply to 10 positions and you get, for example, 2 different offers, most likely one of them going to be full-time. Okay? Cool.
I would, if I can add to that, Max, too, for students, like once you get to this point, this is down the road. But when you're looking at your first job, if you have this idea of, oh, should I take a contract job versus should I take a W-2 job? Either one of them is an equally good opportunity for you to get as your first position. And as a contractor, this does not mean that you're working like 10, 15 hours a week, like as a part-time contract. You are still going to be having a full 9 to 5, 40-hour a week work week. So don't go into it with this idea of like, oh, a contract job is worse for me or a W-2 job is worse for me. They're both equally fantastic jobs for you to take as your first one.
I will just repeat one more time. We usually work 9 to 5 or 10 to 6, 8 hours per day. Doesn't matter if it's a contract or a full-time job. So 8 hours per day, 5 days a week, 40 hours per week. That's what we do. Do we really work 8 hours out of 8? It depends. Sometimes we can finish our tasks efficiently in less than 7 hours, less than 6 hours, sometimes less than 5, less than 4, less than 3. Depends on the company, depends on the season, depends on many different factors. But one of the reasons it's considered stress-free is because usually it's not very stressful the whole day. Let's call it like that. Okay. So that's regarding the time. And for example, if you're gonna get a contract, like let's say you get a first job, 38 per hour, okay, which is like $76,000 contract. After getting this job, you will probably continue the job search, asking now 80 or 90 or 100K, and you will be able to focus, for example, only on remote jobs, only on full-time jobs, only jobs with dental insurance. You will be able to set your goals and to move forward. Do you offer job placement? Sorry if it was answered already. Lost connection for a few. So we teach you how to get the job, and we support you, and we mentor you, and we coach you to get it. So you will be able to get the jobs by yourselves with our support and help. Do we place people? Where we definitely had cases where we placed people in companies, but because it was exception, because it was maybe in, 1% of the cases, I don't see any reason to talk about it too much, because the focus is you getting the job, following the instructions. If we do gonna have some opportunities for you, we're definitely gonna give it to you. Even if I'm paying for the QA bundle, will I be able to complete QA manual, then still come back and complete the QA automation when I'm ready? Exactly. That's exactly the approach, that you do the manual QA and then you come back for the automation when you are ready. And it can be in 1 year, for example, okay? Just in case. You need longer, more time, it's okay. Our goal is not to try and convince you to take something that you will not need. No, our goal is to help you get what you want. And if you need it in 1 year from now, it's okay. If you need it from 1.5 years from now, it's also okay. It's your decision. It's your career. We are here to help. I'm sorry, I'm just reading a long question from Matthew. What if I also wanted to teach people about the course? Is there a way to do that? Yes, of course, because once you're going to get the job and see the results and get experience from a real company that you're going to have experience with, and you will want to share the care, come back to us and spread the knowledge, the light, spread the QA to others and help others to get jobs like Brendan did, because Brendan was our graduate who got a high-paying job in tech. And after working for a while, he decided that he wants to come back and help others as well. So yes, of course it's possible. And you are welcome to, of course, do that. But now I think you should focus on getting the job. Awesome. I think I answered the questions. Let me just check if we have more in the chat. What is the rate of success after completion? That's a great question. Guys, that gonna follow the instructions, 95% will get the job in 2 to 6 months. When I say follow instructions, I mean you watch the lessons, you do the quizzes, you do the homework, you start the career coaching, you work with your coach, you make sure that you sound good, that you prepared well, you prepare for the interview, you repeat the interview questions over and over again. And then whenever your career coach is going to tell you you're ready to go, you will double check the resume and the LinkedIn together with your career coach. You will start the job search. You will apply for jobs every day, 5 days a week. And you will see that after 4 or 5, you will start getting phone calls, you will start getting interviews, and eventually you will start getting job. That potentially will not get the job are usually those that gonna have English problems or visa problems or confidence problems. Okay, but of course exceptions happen, and if somebody promises you that 100% gonna get the job, never trust such numbers. Okay, but also I can tell you that it's a little bit complicated to give you the exact percentage, because after graduates getting the jobs, they're not always reporting us about it. Okay, the 1,000+ companies where our graduates working, it's only those that reported us. So the actual numbers are much higher. Cool. Will a company with reliable software that's been fully tested need a tester on a full-time basis? What else could their task be on a daily basis? That's a great question. Brendan, you want to start? I can always add.
I'll start us off, and then I'm sure you can fill in. But right up front, when you talk about something that's been fully tested, that's nice. Things will still break. And also, companies don't sit stagnant, right? They're always adding new features, new components. They're updating the code. Sometimes things get outdated and things are no longer supported. So there always will be a continuous need for them to maintain the code. And as I said, as they add new features and functionalities, we are the people there that help support their success.
Exactly. And guys, in today's world, things are changing very, very fast. We have all the time new releases, new promotions, holidays, new implementations, new features, new applications, new sites, new promos. A lot of things are going on. And of course, after each and every release, after each and every change, after each and every fix, we need to test it, we need to double check it, we need to verify it, and we need someone who pays attention to details and advocates the customer, thinks about the user experience. Now, more than ever, because I see every year that the user experience is improving, people are caring more about the colors, about how things work, about how things feel. And that's why we are here to help the customer get the best possible user experience. Better user experience they get, better conversion rate for the sales, for the marketing, and better revenue the companies are having. We also witnessed many times how huge corporations, big companies, bank, blockchain, and many others losing millions and hundreds of millions because of a very simple mistake that nobody tested. So companies are learning from mistakes that they need quality assurance. What's the most stressful part of this field? Well, sometimes you do the same job over and over again. Sometimes you sit and in some periods, some seasons, some weeks, some days, you just don't do nothing. For some people, it could be stressful. For other people, it could be the best time of their life. But it really depends. Brandon, can you share your stressful view on that?
Sometimes I'm cooking myself a nice gourmet lunch and I realize, oh, I guess I have to go do some work again. No, in reality, I can't think of I can't think of any time, certainly in the last year, that I've been very stressed by the job. It is I know that might sound too good to be true, but no, I don't find this job to be stressful at all.
When I worked at a company called Uyala, I felt a little bit stressful because we had so much free food there that I felt that like it's not good for my health after 2 years in the company almost. And I just had to move forward just to improve, my diets and health. So I don't know. It's something that I can share about stressful job, but sometimes you just for some people you just repeat things over and over again. For some people it might be stressful, but I think that whenever you get $50 per hour to do something very simple, I don't think it's stressful. I think it's awesome, but people are different, so it's hard to judge. Let's see. I done certification in business analysis. Could it add any value to my QA resume? Well, it definitely shows that you know what is attention to details. It probably means that you have common sense, and most likely that's great, and you can add it to your resume. But will it be, will your resume going to be much better than of someone that didn't put anything before? I don't think so. I think that if you just put your QA experience from the internship, you're still going to get the job in 2 to 6 months. I would love to use my knowledge of AI to implement it into QA, but as you said, we will always be needed to be the ones to put it to use. I'm experimenting with some machine learning software. Wow. To create AI that will assist those who don't know how to code when testing. Well, you don't need to code when testing, manual testing, or creating tests for programs or website. Guys, don't worry if you didn't understand anything from this question. It's okay. But I can tell you, Matthew, that based on what you wrote, it sounds like you have a technical background and company is going to kidnap you in a very good way. And by the way, because we're going to have a lot of AI generated code, especially now, someone going to need to test it. And no, it's not going to be the developers because they're too expensive. It's most likely going to be us testers. Do the companies that hire, how the competition of lending job to those with experience versus without experience? So first of all, without experience, nobody gonna hire you. That's exactly the reason why you're gonna have the experience at the end of this program with the internship that you will be able to show in your resume and LinkedIn, and you will have there 3.5 weeks or 2 months or 4 months or 6 months, depends on your job search and depends if you decided to remain part of the internship until you get the job. So basically, the competition is important to those that are not prepared well. Those that come and graduate careerist going to be very well prepared. They're going to sound better than the average. They're going to look better than the average. Whenever I say look, I mean the resume, the LinkedIn. They will be more confident than the average because you're going to be prepared very well. You're going to have a beautiful resume and LinkedIn that's going to look much better than the average. So for you, I don't see any reason to worry about the competition. For others, maybe, but not in your case. In your case, once you just focused and following instructions, you get the job. Cool. Let's see. Let me just... Guys, did we answer your questions? In case that you're still going to have questions, please email us. And please don't forget your contract below. Thank you very much for being with us. I'm glad that you enjoyed. I believe that we answered all of your questions. In case we missed someone, I apologize. If it's important, you can write it right now. Is there a payment plan? Yes, of course. For that, you want to email advisors@careers.com and we will help you with the payment plan option. Cool. Thank you so much, guys. See you on lesson number 2. Have a good one. Thank you so much.
Good night, everybody. Take care.
Have a good night. Bye-bye.